How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Forever Arsenal podcast. I hope everyone's good and I hope everyone's well. Make sure you hit the like button first and foremost. Let's get the likes up. And yeah, we're here to talk. So we're going to talk. It's the regulars, Lee, Jordan, and James. I've just clocked. We're not in the right positions, are we?
No. There we go.
That's a bit like Arteta's back four, wasn't it? Like, I mean, all over the place.
It wasn't that good, Lee.
No, that's true. Like, I mean, sorry, At least one of you is in our right positions.
Yeah, well, we're into it, so we might as well get further into it because we've just lost 1-0 to Nottingham Forest, confirming Manchester City's Premier League title for the 2022-23 season. We'll give our thoughts on them and Pep a bit later on in the show, but Arsenal, let me start. I know for me a few weeks ago it was all over. Now James in particular, he knows because he's with me pretty much every day. I thought after Southampton, there's no coming back from this. City will turn us over. I never expected anything from that. And after it was a formality, I just said, you know what? It is what it is. I mean, I'm thinking about the summer transfer window, but that doesn't mean that these sorts of performances and these sorts of results still won't affect me. Because the Brighton one was bad enough. And then to follow it up with that Forest one, I mean, I don't even know. Lee, you was there. You was there as always. We always turn to you first. I haven't even talked to you since. So how did you feel? How you feeling?
As it's gone through the weekend, I'm more and more angrier. I feel really like they took the mickey out of me. The club, the manager, the players, really like. Listen, I get that they've. Listen, I think what's annoying me more is I feel that you can't criticise them because they've had a good season. Like they've played really well. But these last two games, it feels like we've had a good season, so they ain't going to really get on our backs, and so we can get away with it. I feel like that the Brighton performance. I tried to defend it a little bit, like it's one-off game maybe. Whoever done this, James turned around and said to me, which got me thinking, saying that I know that they threw the towel in. Well, that performance on Saturday was nothing more than disgrace. I've seen enough of those performances in the last 2 or 3 years under this manager to have it come and rear its ugly head again. After the season we've had, is a bit of a worry for me. It's a bit of a worry for me, and I feel very, very let down by that performance because I've watched 2 games now and paid a lot of money for it. And I haven't got anything out of it. I couldn't cheer against Brighton because there was nothing to cheer about. And on Saturday, I don't even think we had a shot to cheer. It was awful. I had 3 sides of a ground rocking and all that. And do you know what's really annoyed me more than anything, guys? And it's really got my goat up, is that over the last 2 weeks and that, we've got every fan base bantering us and taking us the mickey out of us and everything like that, and rightly so. And what have we done? What have those players done about it? They've done nothing but just put more fuel on the flames for everybody to take the mickey out of us, and that's what's weighing me up. I said I wanted, once we couldn't win the league, was to put in a good solid performance and make sure that we was going ready for next season. We've been pathetic in the last couple of games. And on Saturday, these are 2 teams, Brighton, everybody's going, oh yeah, good side and all that, but that, and I'll give them credit, we'll sort of give Brighton a little bit more credit. This was a team that are down the bottom that wanted it in every single department. Every player wanted it more than one of my Arsenal players. And I had to sit there and stand there and endure it for 90 minutes. Them all turning around and singing top of the league and you effed it up. All of that, And what response did I get from those players? Pathetic. Every single one of them. As for the manager and what he done with the formation and all that, yeah, you've done really well, Mikel. You've turned me around and all that, and he has done. But that was taking the mickey out of every passionate Arsenal fan that goes to games week in, week out, and also the fans that follow the team, watching it and sending up their time, whether it be on TV or whatever. It was a shambles. an absolute shambles, and everybody is laughing at us because they're saying bottle jobs and everything like that. Now they are going to be 10 points clear of us at the end of the season. And that ain't good enough, guys. For what we've done all this season, we should be 1 or 2 points away from. And that's what's hurting me, not 10. They're not 10 points better than us after the season that we've had. But they are now because of the pathetic end of the season. And people trying to giving them a part. Oh, we've done well to get where we are. We've done well to get where that. We got to a position where we could win this league, right? And we've thrown it away for whatever reason you want to look at. And the performances have not got better and better. One great performance against Newcastle, and then the pathetic performances after. Ain't good enough, boys. Ain't good enough. And I've got the amp about it, like, you know. And I didn't have the amp so much about it on Saturday, you know, like a good day, nice in the sun and all that. But the more I think about it, you know, what a waste of time and effort. And I'll tell you what, our fans on that day were fantastic again. And we don't deserve that. Arsenal fans do not deserve that. We've had some fantastic times and all that, like, which, by the way, I expect us to be having because we're Arsenal Football Club, by the way. But I don't expect what I've seen over the last 2 games and the way we've folded and the manner of it and the attitude of players and the manager and all that. Like, nah, not for me. And I am going to have a go at them and all that. I've not had a go at this football club all season. But for me, those last 2 games are unacceptable.
No, when you were talking, a lot of what you said resonates. But when you mentioned that it's likely to be now, 10-point lead at the top come the end of the season.
That hurts me, that does.
Yeah,
that hurts me. Yeah. And it should hurt those players. And it done because they've tossed away points.
That's that was actually the most painful part of what you just said and the reality. Because I was never confident we was going to win the league. I didn't think a 5-point, 8-point gap with a game in hand was ever enough to be confident against City.
No.
But I never envisioned with what the players have shown this season and what Mikel has shown this season that we would throw it away completely. Like I said, after West Ham, I thought it was done. But I thought we'd be in and around, you know, points tally-wise come the end of the season. After the Newcastle performance, I thought, all right, you know, as much as I think it's done, that was a very good performance against a team on the up, against a team that was part of dashing our top 4 hopes last season, or, well, the end part of it. And then Brighton and Forest. I don't even know how to explain it. I don't even, and to be honest, it does look like they're at the beach, as people might say about teams that are safe at the bottom or teams that are comfortable in their position. It does feel like that. Jordan, James, I don't know who wants to go next, but you're both welcome. Lee's gone straight in there. Jordan, usually I wait for you because you've always got the negative things to pick out. I mean, today there's no positives to pick out of it.
Turkish, I don't recognise this Arsenal football team. I don't recognise them. I think back to the games in the first 10 games of the season, and we all saw a team that started games so well. We were getting chances in the first 5 minutes. We were at it. We were winning first balls, winning second balls. We were terrorising them down with combinations down both sides, be it Ben White and Saka, with Odegaard linking up. Or on the other side with, you know, he who shan't be named, and Zinchenko with Martinelli. Defensively, we looked solid. We knew what we were doing. We were commanding in the air. The passing out of tight positions at the back was just seamless. And I forward to today and the Brighton game, the second half in particular, and we're the complete opposite. I have no idea, to what Lee said, what Arteta was doing with that back 4. I thought about it all weekend, because when you see something you don't understand, my first thinking is, okay, cool. I don't understand this, but let me try and think about what the person doing was trying to do. I might not agree with it, but let me try and at least understand it. I can't even understand what he was trying to do.
Can I jump in at that bit, Jordan? Sorry, I think he was just... Partey was his Zinchenko for that game. They just flipped it. That's what it was. So rather than Zinchenko inverting from left back, so he didn't have him, Partey was meant to invert from right back. So you had Kivior, Gabriel, and White as the back 3. The problem was, as I'm sure Lee saw on Tactical Insight, you had all our best players on the right side. So White, Partey, Odegaard, and Saka, all our best, most comfortable players who have played most this season, were all down our right. And on the left, you had Kivior, Xhaka, granted, has played a lot of football, Trossard as well. And it's just, you don't trust that side as much. So everything went down one and we just looked completely imbalanced. So I just wanted to jump in at that bit.
No. Thanks for that. So my next question then is why? Why did he put Xhaka at right back?
Because he doesn't trust Tierney. And I think this is the one thing we all just have to accept now. As even though we all rate Tierney, he does not trust him. He wants to play a back four like Man City that becomes a 3 when we have the ball, so we get an extra man in midfield. Guardiola gets the extra man via Stones stepping forward. We've always got it via Zinchenko coming inside. He doesn't trust Tierney to do that. And in fairness, Tierney's never looked comfortable doing that. So his solution was, let's do it with Partey, because he's played right back before for Atletico Madrid, and he's done it for us once. And then Kivior can play left back. So that was his solution to it. But and I actually think it could work one day, but I don't think it works off the back of poor form, players out of form, Partey just getting chucked in out of nowhere. And just with the imbalance we had. But I just wanted to come in at that bit because I think a lot of people will be asking the same question. I'm not trying to do the whole, I know what Arteta meant. I just think that was the plan, even though it didn't really work.
My second point would be that, so my first point is I don't recognise his Arsenal team. I don't recognise what's happening over the last few games. My second point, again, to what Lee has flagged, we've all been talking about the concern about where we finish. Now, to your hardened, win it or you're nowhere, and the binary nature of, if you're not first, who cares? Cool, fair enough, whatever. But I think there's something to be said about finishing 4 or 5 points behind the City team and now 10, 11 points behind the City team. Think about Liverpool. Liverpool finished one season having lost one game, took them to the last game of the season. They didn't win the league. So ultimately, they're losers. If you're not first, you're a loser, right? Technically, you are. But people still talk about them finishing second because of how they finished second. They took it all the way. What? You lost one game all season and didn't win the league. So there's some reverence in how you finish second. Not much. In 10 years' time, no one's going to think about this or look back on this season and think, Arsenal lost 5 games? They lost, 2 out of their last 3? It could be 3 out of 3, by the way. You know, what? Arsenal finished second, but they weren't in a title race. When we will know that we were, compared to Liverpool, where in 10 years from now, you look back and you'll be like, Liverpool went all the way. So I think there's when people are saying it doesn't really matter how far behind you finish. Me personally, I think it does. You don't win anything, finish second by a point, fair enough. But I think there's something to be said about how you finish the season. And my third and final point, if I can remember it, which I can't. So I'll defer to James to give his analysis on the game.
Thank you. But do jump in if you remember the third point, because ultimately I agree with everything you three have said. I'm going to ask you a question. Would any of you three consider me a particularly negative fan?
No.
Right.
No, not at all.
So when I'm pissed off about something, you know something's gone wrong.
You know something's happened.
And I was furious on the full-time show. I was absolutely furious. I went as far as to tweet that the Arsenal players and staff should be ashamed of how they've ended the season. A lot of people didn't like that. I obviously wasn't talking about Gary O'Driscoll and Stuart McFarlane, the medical team. And
You're all a disgrace. All of you. The kit man, the tea lady, all of you. You should be sacked.
Obviously, I'm talking more the coaching staff. Because I also think we do this thing where it's kind of all or nothing with Arteta. And actually, there's other people involved and there's the players and all that. But I was really, really furious because a little bit like Lee, I felt a little bit taken the piss out of. And I know that's not what they meant. And I know that's not, I know to some degree the players tried. But no one will convince me that they gave their all in that second half against Brighton and in that 90 minutes against Forest. Now, did we as fans go into it giving our all in terms of the belief and all that? Maybe not, but the away fans all turned up and fans around the world got up to watch this team and support the team from everywhere. And I'm like you, I wanted to finish strong because at the very least, if you make City earn it, then you make them respect you. They don't respect us. They were chilling in some, wherever they were, pub, training ground, restaurant, whatever, going, thanks very much, Forrest. Appreciate that. We can play the C team tomorrow. We didn't make them work for it. And the thing about Liverpool, and every time they fell short of Man City came out sweating and struggling and just at the very end thinking, oh my word, they pulled us all the way. Not only because Liverpool actually beat them when they played them a few times, but because City knew they had to win all their games up to the very end.
It was more relief. Last night was fun.
They just enjoyed it, Man City, in the end. In the end, after all this, after having actually taken the point gap lead that we did, they were able to just stroll over the line. And that really annoys me. It does really annoy me. I'll be honest, 2 days on now, I've relieved that a lot of my frustration's gone. I very much left it out there on the day. So if you want the angry James, go check out the full-time show in the live section of the AFTV channel, because that is where I'm at my absolute most furious. A few days on now.
I watched it. I could tell people you were furious. It was Angry James. So
I was actually angry.
See Angry James, go and watch it.
You don't really normally get that from me, but I was really. Did you agree, by the way, with it, Jordan? I'm just curious in the moment.
Every word.
Okay, I'm glad, because again, like, I never really crossed that line of really getting furious with the players. When they do it, it's something's happened, and so I always kind of wonder whether I've judged this one right. And I've talked to other people, and there were people on Twitter saying, look at the bigger picture, how far we come, and I get that, but I think these things matter. Even though the title was gone, I think the way you ended mattered. I think, go on, Lee.
Do you know what else has annoyed me? I'll tell you what's annoyed me more than anything, right? We allowed them to have their day yesterday. That's the last thing we should have let them do. They should never have been allowed to celebrate winning the league in front of their own fans. You know why? Because they've stopped us doing it. So the least you could do is go, right, I'll tell you what, we're winning today, so you will celebrate it on an away ground.
I actually agree with that. I actually get that.
That's what's annoyed me more than anything, because I've gone to City, giving it all, everything and all that, right? And they've stopped us winning the league. Great. Well done. Deservedly so. But make it as bad as you possibly could. And for them to have their day in the sun yesterday and have that celebration, that's down to us being pathetic in our last two games. Like, they should be celebrating that trophy either at Brighton or at Brentford, not giving them what they had there on Sunday.
I agree. We gave them a pass
from our players. Stopped us winning the title, took our dreams away, and you just let them go and have your parade. Go and enjoy your day.
And before the game started as well.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't even have to win that home game for them to enjoy it. And what annoyed me as well, and we talk. Let's take the Arteta thing, for example. I'll be honest, I don't hate the changes he made in defence as much as everyone else. And the only reason I don't hate them as much is because I don't think anyone was playing well. That I was actually happy for him to ring the changes. I was quite disappointed with how...
change, James.
What's that?
He made one change.
No, but he really flipped it around. I think he made a bit of a statement.
Yeah, I know he done, but one personnel change. If you think that's right, then fair enough, but I don't.
Well, okay. But Nelson's unwell, so he couldn't bring him in.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And Vieira hasn't been good.
He left out one player.
Tierney,
really. One player. Who, by the way, now if he ain't gone by the end of this next season in the summer, I'll lose in respect for him.
No, of course, but we know Tierney's going. We know Tierney's going. Go on, John.
So I was going to say, I remember the third thing, and it was just basically, I don't want to be too dramatic and too hyperbolic, and I don't want to go too crazy after it's been a very emotional couple of weeks. And I know, Turkish, we're not going to delve into the bigger picture of the summer on this show here, but my initial thinking is, because the narrative has been for the last couple of months amongst Arsenal fans is, next year will be better. We'll be better. Next year, we'll learn from this, and next year will be better. I mean, we might be. My concern is, I'm not sure they have the minerals and the mentality to do what Liverpool did, which was miss out 1 year and then come again.
Well, that's the problem.
I have concerns about that. And look, we will see who we bring in, who goes out. Other teams do. There's a lot of stuff to happen between now and game one of next season. So I'm not going to make any massive predictions now, but I'm concerned. The way they're collapsing for me is concerning.
The one thing that really bugs me, sorry, I've got to say this. The one thing that really bugs me is I can forgive the team, and I have forgive the team for not winning against Liverpool when being 2-0 up. West Ham, Southampton. Do you know why? Because they was under pressure. Manchester City were putting them under pressure, right? So, pressure over. These last two games, we haven't had pressure on us. There's no pressure on us now. We knew the title was up. and they've put in performances like that with no pressure. Now we'll go here on Sunday and they'll win quite comfortably because it's at home and it's a lovely little day out and all that. Don't wash with me. Don't wash with me. These three games
sure
meant a lot. They go out there and just go and win those games. And also look at it for next season. Yeah, all right, we've buckled under the pressure, but I tell you what, we're going to be there next season. We're going to be ready. Now, also, we done this last season, but we had a good start and had a good season, so it might not be anything to do with it. But I'm disappointed with the way it's gone, lads. You know what I mean? It's if you, 2 wins in 8 games. That's not title form. That's not top 4 form, by the way. It's middle of the bottom table thing and all. It's pathetic. It's a pathetic end to the season. I'm really disappointed. Like, and you've got teams like I've seen it all on, all singing it. West Ham fan. I come off the tube at West Ham. By the way, West Ham had lost 2-0 at home to Brentford. All singing, we're having a party because Arsenal. Chelsea, the season that they've had, doing it. Tottenham doing it as well. And what we've done is just keep it going and all that, but with poor performances like we've done. You know what I mean? Like, I'm really disappointed with the team and everything like that. And I shouldn't be. That's what's annoying me more than ever because I'm proud of what we've done up until the last couple of weeks. We should be proud of what we've done. Really, stuck up for the boys and everything like that. But they've really let me down in these last 2 games. Really let me down.
Like, after the game, what James said about tweeting that he's ashamed. I said quite a few things in my fan cam. I mentioned that it was a season to forget, and that was how I was feeling. And even now, everything we've talked about is, it's over an 8-9 game period. Of course, there's moments in this season that I remember. Of course, like Lee said, I've been proud of this team for the majority of the way. But to remember a season, you remember how it ends as well. And the way it's ended is just so poor that I can't get my head around it. Because I thought we left those performances behind and that sort of mentality behind in terms of as good as Brighton are, we're at the Emirates. Look what we've done to them at their ground this season. As good as they've been throughout. That should be a W. That's not arrogance. That's what the team have led me to believe, that these games are formality in a sense. And that's how we've kept up with City, or if not kept up, led the way for the majority of the season. We've just done our job against the majority. The end of the season, it's just so flat, it's lifeless. And Lee's right. We are going to win on Sunday. We'll probably win handsomely as well, if I'm honest. When we get into predictions, I'll let you know what I think, because it is a home game. The fans, it's a send off and all of that. We better at least. Let me say that. But I think we should as well.
Do you know what the season's like, Turkish? You know what it's like? I was thinking about this today. It's like going to a party. It's a really vibrant party. Like, you pull the best looking bird in there, like, you know what I mean, for most of the night. You know what I mean? You're buying the drinks and all that. And at the end, she goes off with James. That is how I feel our season is like. You know what I mean? At the end of it, like, And what you think about it, you don't actually think, it's a great night, don't you? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's been a great party and all that. You think of what it's like at the end when you get in the cab and you've got to pay for your own Uber. This is where I feel now, like, you know what I mean?
Weirdly, the end of the season doesn't feel like I was at that party, but thanks, Lee.
She left with James, the ultimate kick in the team.
That's how it feels like. Bloody let down.
Hey, Jordan's busting up.
It's how it feels like. Do you know what I mean? So it's a great party.
Man put in all the work, and then James just walks in and says,
have you seen Tactical Insight?
Yeah. And not only that, Graham's took me mum home. Like, you know what I mean? It's a joke. You know what I mean?
Back-to-back viewings of Tactical Insight. Oh, man.
Yeah. And this is the XG. Oh, wow.
It does feel like a bit of a letdown, though, doesn't it? You know, I mean, come on.
Inverted right back.
Lee, I'm furious. I did today on not Tactical Insight, I'm talking tactics on DR Sports. I pulled up the last 9 years of runners up, and we should have been up there with, not Liverpool hit 97 points. They were unbelievable. I mean, they bloody deserve a title just for that. But Liverpool last season, for example, and a couple other good sides that challenge. We're lingering. We're no better than Man United under Jose Mourinho. We're worse than Poch Tottenham. Yeah, in 16-17. There's a load of them. The Liverpool. People say we're more like the Brendan Rodgers. Liverpool 13-14, yeah? We're actually, if we win our next game, we'll have the exact same record of wins, draws, and defeats. They scored 102 goals. They were mesmerizing to watch. I mean, we were very good and
Yeah.
brilliant to watch at times this season as well. But we still have conceded more goals than them as well. You know, so what's frustrating is that we'll look on this and look, they might bounce back. They actually bounced back brilliantly from last season. Last season could have damaged them mentally because it's not even a title race, it's a top 4 race. It's kind of almost more embarrassing. But they responded really well. And I think they were galvanized by Saliba returning, Zinchenko coming in, Jesus. But they're gonna have to do that in the transfer window. The players are gonna have to have a real kind of appetite for the season because they've got Declan Rice, Moises Caicedo, and I don't know who else, around them to get them, through and feel that excitement again. But I do feel disappointed. And it has been a good season and there are lots of positives. And there is going to be a podcast at the end of the season where we reflect on all these good things. But I really think the players, I think they've let themselves down in these last few games. I really do. Because who there could we say has been playing at their best? The only player that got to their best when we needed it and the pressure was Martinelli, and we've mentioned that in this podcast. Yeah. Ødegaard giving it away in midfield again. Granted, he scored some goals in this running. Granted, he's had some big moments like Newcastle away and all that, but gives it the ball away in midfield again. Did the same against Southampton when we were 1-0 down. Did the same at the Etihad when we were 2-0 down. That's not good enough from your captain, and he'll learn. Fine. Gabriel, not strong in the challenge again. A ball rolled out to the right forward. You just need to get yourself in the way. Ramsdale coming out, sloppy. I don't really like a lot of the quotes that are coming out, as this season's kind of come to an end. I'm not really sure the timing of it's all right. And does deserve blame. But the one thing I'll say about Arteta is I don't know what he's saying behind the scenes. And unfortunately, because the documentary was a one-off, we're not really going to know what was said behind the scenes. But one thing I took from the documentary last year is he does have standards. And where a lot of us thought that they wouldn't really care about going out the FA Cup last year, we saw in that full-time was it post-match discussion or whatever in the change rooms, we saw he absolutely blasted them like he did Everton. We were 1-0 up, but we were playing terribly. So I actually trust that Arteta will be setting those standards with them. I'm more annoyed at the players who in the last few games has really kind of stepped up to try and get us through. I'm disappointed in them. I'm not seeing that same fight. Ben White, actually, for the sake of giving credit, Ben White against Forest was good.
Really?
Yeah, I thought he was. I genuinely thought he was. I thought he, not just good for everyone else. I thought Ben White legitimately played well in that game. Everyone else I thought was poor or not or non. Just
was you going to toilet during that game or something?
What was your problem with Ben White's performance, Lee?
I thought he was poor. I thought it was one of, it's not the Ben White of.
Well, what did he do wrong?
Well, he miscontrolled it once and what's his name went in. What's his name? White was it? And smashed it against the near post. I thought he didn't get round the fullback once. He didn't really. I think he was playing I don't think he was playing a centre half. Well, I don't really know what he was doing.
I thought he was good. I thought he was getting in front of his striker, winning the ball, and actually the only one who looked half decent on the ball. But look,
it's not Ben White I've been watching most of the season though.
No, fine. But look, do we really care ultimately about how good Ben White was in a 1-0 defeat to Forest? I think ultimately the players, I feel very let down by. And by the way, let me just get this out of the way. I've heard mental fatigue, long season. You went out of every competition.
Yeah, too early. Yeah, I totally agree.
Poorly, you rotated against City, Brighton at home in the cup, and Sporting.
Someone said to me, James, I'll ask the question, when was the pivotal moment for you when you felt that you weren't going to win the league and all that? I felt it was all went wrong or whatever. And I said, 2-0 up at Anfield. When I come away from that game, I thought at 2-0, I thought if we won that game, we'd have win it. But I felt that was it. And my mate turned around and said, Man City away in the FA Cup. He went far as back as that game,
Wow. Why? Did they give a reason?
He just said when we went out of that cup competition, we was on a roll at that stage. You should have put some doubt in their mind. You know what I mean? And you think about it, at that time, Man City weren't in great form. And we actually went there made a lot of changes. I don't think they made that many changes, if I remember.
They went Haaland, De Bruyne, they all played.
Yeah. And we went with and we give them a good game. But if we'd have beaten them, took out, maybe it may have put a bit of doubt in him. I don't know when it went. I think you can all. Football's about opinions, isn't it? You can all have different choices. But I certainly do think about that game now. And I didn't think it really mattered that much at the time, but maybe it did. Maybe
West Ham away for me. West Ham away for me to throw away that 2-0 lead.
Yeah.
You know, you started so well. You responded after Liverpool, and you threw away another 2-goal lead. That's just
not acceptable.
But I want to ask. I mean, Archie, I'll ask you, Turkish. Yeah, of all these podcasts we've done, we do one after every single game. Which is the one that you've seen us, or I can speak for myself, me, the most pissed off? It's this one.
Yeah, everyone here.
Same as me.
Yeah.
Right. It's not when the title we think we lost at West Ham. It's not Southampton with appalling 3-3 draw at home to Southampton. It wasn't the 4-1 battering in the Premier League final. It wasn't any of those where we slaughtered the team. It's this one. So what does that tell you about how much it matters to the fans that you try, that you give your all, that you're constantly out there, leaving it out there?
James,
that's what tells you the story.
It's the word that you used earlier on, standards. That's why we're angry. Yeah. City can reel us in and we can lose it. You can lose the league. You don't drop your standards. If you're beaten by a better team, you're beaten by a better team. Forest, West Ham, Southampton, whatever. From the day they beat you, we can analyze how they beat us. But if the better team is beating you, then you hold your hands up. On none of those games should, City aside, none of those games we should be losing or dropping points for me. And once the league is gone, you don't drop your standards. We've thrown it away. We have given up these last 2 or 3 games. We've given up, and that's what I think we're collectively upset about. We've dropped our standards. I mean, we're sulking. We're sulking now.
Yeah, we are. Yes, that's the word. The team looks like they're sulking their way over the line. I hate that.
You know what though? There's one, as a professional footballer, you can accept. I accept that Ben White or Saka has got more skill than me. I accept that they're this, and I accept that they're that. There's one thing that I can do that they can do, and that's give it my all, give it my 100%, work as hard as what they can, run my heart out for the football club. And when that doesn't happen, I think that's when fans find it hard to forgive.
Yeah,
I look back at the game against Southampton. Yeah, we didn't play well, but we fought right to the end and got a result. Even the game against Manchester City, we was outclassed, but we ran around, worked hard and all that. Like, you couldn't fault the effort. I can fault the effort in that game against Nottingham Forest, and that is criminal for any team. You know what I mean? They might have better ability than us and all that, but when they're not running and giving it their all, that's when it hurts, and that's why I think that game hurts more.
And we've proved that game. This isn't just some cliche that you and I have thrown out there that, we just want to see heart and fight and it's all about passion, you know, the things that pundits say and all that. We're not just saying that now. Like, go back and watch all the other podcasts. Anyone who's critical of what we're saying now and doesn't believe us, watch how after those podcasts, we were frustrated about things. We were measured. We were understanding. We looked to the pros. We looked to the cons. This is the one where we're losing our shit.
Yeah.
And that tells you everything. So I don't like this whole entitled fans, what you thought you deserved to win the league, blah, blah. It's nothing to do with that. We're annoyed because we've seen the standards drop before our eyes. But the ticket prices didn't go down because the title race was done. Yeah, the fans didn't stop turning up. Nothing else slowed down. Just the performance on the pitch. And I don't think that's acceptable.
Yeah, and the whole narrative of the season is just flipped on its head in a matter of games in terms of when discussing Arsenal and how we are perceived. I think there's still listen, as much as we've mentioned a lot of negatives, the positive is we've seen something this season that we haven't seen in a little while, and that's a consistent team that has high enough standards, because I think they have high standards. I just think they've collapsed when push comes to shove, and we can talk about why young, lack of experience, the experienced players not turning up when the young ones need it. There's plenty more excuses or reasons and whatever else like that. But James is right. I mean, you know, everyone's going till the end, and it just feels like Arsenal slowed down just when the Everton game finished against Man City. And we was all deflated after that one. I get it. But when other teams are looking at Arsenal, we created something that it's been years since teams feared us. It's been years since teams would not set up in a different way to play Arsenal because we are that good. But this end of the season, it's like teams are probably looking at it now, thinking actually it's same old Arsenal, a bit soft. If you put it on them a little bit, they'll quieten down. That's my worry about it. I'm glad to hear the transfer activity is pretty much started already because it has to start. The sooner the better for us. And I kind of do want to move it on into that direction too, because recently Gundogan's been linked, Mason Mount's been linked, Rice is always linked. It seems since January. The Caicedo links have died down a little bit. But let's talk about, Gundogan, because Man City are Premier League champions, 5th time in 6 years. And Gundogan's been the captain for a few of those years. Would he be Jordan, let me ask you, the man who you've named a couple of times this season, but try not to name. He seems to be gone.
3 times, actually.
3 times, okay. Gundogan coming in, would you accept that, or do you think it's a City reject or a City over the hill player? There's no use in signing someone like that.
Just before I answered that, because I wanted to answer that question, just very briefly, I want to make a point, and this is going to be my kind of point throughout the whole season. I don't like it when the first reaction from fans and indeed clubs when something goes wrong is to buy. Buy. Oh, we've got to buy 10 players. Oh, we've got to buy. Arsenal need to buy some players. Arsenal need to upgrade in a handful of positions. So, yes, I want to see some better players come in. But alongside that, I would like to see some coaching. I'd like to see if Mikel Arteta as a manager can, I mentioned the word earlier on, mentality. If he can actually, his biggest job for me this summer is keeping the core of that team. And I mentioned it earlier on, do what Liverpool did. Instill a mentality. He used the phrase in that documentary when they lost to Newcastle, and he said, "You got to eat it, you got to drink it or something." He said, "You got to eat it." I'm hoping for a similar type approach this season, and I'm really hoping that he can get into Saka's mind, Ramsdale's mind, Martinelli's mind, Saliba, because they'll be starting that season for Arsenal Football Club, and really instead of mentality that when we are here, hopefully this time next season, we see that actually, we might have Rice in the midfield. Yeah, we might have someone else up top. But actually, the core players have grown in mentality. And they've actually gone up a level in terms of their mindset. It's not just, we spent 200 million and bought in 4 players.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's I think, alongside getting the recruitment right, that for me is the single biggest job he's got this summer. So Gundogan, I mean, I'm a big fan. I've seen, he's called #clutch, right? The last 4 or 5 seasons, he's the guy that in the last 10 games of the season, he's doing the Michael Jordan. Downtown, 1 second to go on the buzzer. It's in, championship 1. He's doing that game after game. So on the face of it, I wouldn't mind another experienced winner in the team. But you use that phrase, reject. What I don't want to happen is Arsenal become a club that just start picking up the players, that other teams who are winning things no longer want. There was a reason, and people don't buy this, but it's the way it is. There's a reason why Arsenal got Mesut Ozil. There's a reason why Arsenal got Alexis Sanchez. There's a reason why Arsenal got Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. And there's a reason why we got Gabriel Jesus. Not that they're not good players, but if you're one of the elite teams that wins trophies, you don't let players go easily. You just don't. So I'm a little bit suspicious that if Pep's letting him go or not trying to re-sign him, and listen, if Pep says to the board, re-sign this guy or I walk, they're re-signing him. So if he wanted Gundogan, he would have gone all out to get him. So the fact that he's letting him go makes me think, has he peaked? Is this now the top of the mountain where he declines and we get that player? I don't know. So on the face of it, you're getting a brilliant player. But I don't want us to be that place where ex-winners come to have a last payday. That would be my concern. Didn't really answer the question there, but that's my thoughts on it.
I think your point earlier about coaching was bloody spot on.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great point.
In some way, shape, or form, we need ex-winners to come in at the same time.
Yeah.
We lack that now come the end of the season. As much as you're right, the young players will need to, kick on again an extra year. They've shown nothing against that happening again. If you look over the last few years with Saka, Martinelli, Saliba, so on, so you'd expect that to happen again. But in the transfer window,
can we make Emil Smith Rowe our new Gundogan? Can we coach him? I think he'll be gone this summer personally. But I'm just making the point, rather than buying the Gundogan, how about we try to make the next Gundogan? do you know what I mean?
But that's where the quality and
I hear you.
We need people that's been there and done that in some way, shape, or form.
I'd say Wenger done that very well, by the way. I remember losing Adebayor, and he brought it and put Van Persie in there, didn't he? And he thought, wow, and actually Van Persie was better than Adebayor, and he done that with certain other players. And that's something that maybe Mikel's got to do. I think if you're not going to do that with Smith Rowe, then you've got to bring in 3 midfield players, and I think 2 of them have got to be massive, and that for me is Caicedo and Declan Rice, and then maybe a Tielemans or a Gundogan or someone like that is on a free transfer, because you're going to let Xhaka go. Realistically, we're short in that midfield with Xhaka and Partey.
Yeah, we are.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think anybody. I'm sorry. I love Jorginho's industry and everything like that, but he's not going to take you to the title. He's on the way. He's on the wane instead of like on the up. So we're going to have to bring in. I think what I see on over the last few games, we need energy in that midfield, energetic players in there, people that are going to break the lines. I don't see that with our players, at this moment. And maybe like, I think that Xhaka's done it very, very well, to be honest, for most of the season, getting beyond the forward and getting into those positions. But we're going to need some players to do that. Declan Rice, maybe a I want 2. I want our midfield next season to be Caicedo, Rice, and Odegaard. That's the main 3 that I want. And to get that, there might have to be sacrifices.
Can I ask you 3 a question? Sorry, James, before you come in and contribute to that, because it's looking like the midfield is going to be Rice and Caicedo next season as a 2 with Odegaard in front.
I wouldn't bank on it.
Well, true. Well, there is that, yeah. But the smart money.
We're being serious, though, so that's what we've got to have.
Well, this is what I want to ask you 3. Do you guys think that as a threesome is going to compete with the elite of European football? Rice, Caicedo, Odegaard. Do you think Madrid, Man City, Paris, Bayern see that midfield 3 and think, oh?
I think it can. Yeah, I think it can. I think Odegaard is only getting better. I think Rice, I mean, a lot of West Ham fans will tell you Declan Rice is world class, and if Arsenal win to spend 100 million, then he's certainly on the way. And Caicedo, whenever I watch him, he just looks a Rolls Royce in midfield.
I think he's brilliant, and if that's our 2 next year, that's an upgrade of what we've got right now. But I've said before, I want to win the Champions League, and I'm just being brutal. I'm being deliberately brutal and a bit provocative by saying Rice and Caicedo is a midfield 2. Does that win you a Champions League?
Well, I think it can. Look, maybe. I think it can. I've seen worse midfields win Champions Leagues, by the way. In fact, I've just seen Çalhanoğlu, Mkhitaryan, and Barella get to the final. So, I do think that midfield can certainly go somewhere. But then it goes back to what you said about coaching. I mean, let's have it right. Guardiola has had a lot of money to spend and brought in some great players, but let's not pretend he's also not made these great players even better. Yeah. De Bruyne arrived, a great player, but he made him world class. Nathan Ake was a £40 million backup centre-back to Laporte, but now he's become their defender of the season. John Stones has played right-back, centre-back, holding midfield, wherever. A lot of people said, what, but this guy, what he's playing, you buy him just because he can play out the back, he can't defend. Now no one questions his defending. So I would hope that Arteta gets hold of these players and makes them better. Now let's give credit to Arteta. He has done that with, I think Martinelli has gone up level. He always looked like he had serious potential. I think Martinelli and Saka really benefited from time with Arteta. But yeah, I think Ben White has. I think Ben White has got better and better. But yeah, I think that midfield can.
Okay. Yeah,
I think it's go. I think that midfield. Listen, the midfield is Xhaka and Partey, and it's not been with Partey 100% fit. If I be honest, it's took us to second in the league and done us. Took us really, really well. It's been a fantastic midfield for us. So I think them 2 will will be improvements to it. I'm with you, James. I every time I watch that Casida play, I think he's fantastic, and also he can play right back as well. Now I've watched him at right back and say, well, you know, he can fill in there and do that job as well. Like, you know, so he can get games. You can say like, right, I'm bringing in Partey in there in the midfield, and I'll play him right back, and he can invert, do whatever he wants. I just think he's a class act. Out of all the players I've seen, I'm a big Rice fan as well. I like him, but for me, I think that if I've got a choice, I'm going for him. I think he's just fantastic. Don't get bullied, does he?
Casado or Rice?
Casado, I'd go for him.
Oh, yeah.
I love him.
I agree.
I think he's got ability.
Casado as well, if it's a choice. But with Xhaka leaving, we have to get free.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If one of them's on a free, it's on a free. Gundogan would be my preference, but Tielemans, you know, if we're getting two, then bringing in Tielemans on top of that, I'm all right with that. As much as there's doubts about how much motivation he has and how he's fallen off a cliff in the last 2 years, form-wise and so on, I understand that. I agree with that. But all in all, I think three midfielders, Rice, Caicedo, and whoever else, ideally Gundogan, because with Rice, Caicedo, and Gundogan, you have the perfect mix of experience, quality, athleticism, heart, passion,
goals,
flexibility. I think you've got a lot with those three players in. Even with Rice, he plays across the 8-6. He's slotted in at centre back before. Like Lee said with Caicedo, he's done multiple positions. And when Jordan, you ask if we can win the Champions League with it, I think in system-based football, it's the system that don't get me wrong, the big players need to stand up in the big moments, but you have to look at the system and think, can this system win it? And we haven't been, if you just look at our European form over the years, actually, that's not even fair because the system's only really come into place this season, in my honest opinion, in its full flow. But our European record this season isn't great. That's not just the exit to Sporting, it's across the fixtures. But in the league, if you're saying, can you beat the best or keep up with the best with that midfield, the system's done it this season in terms of the league with Man City. It's fallen short at the end, and it might be a bit bigger than short, to be honest, the way it's looking. But they've played good football consistently. So Caicedo, Rice, and Odegaard, at the ages they're at, the trajectory and development, I think it could be a serious midfield.
Yeah, I think it could be too. On the Gundogan thing quickly, I'd love him. I mean, you sell Xhaka for 10-15 million euros and you bring in Gundogan on a free. I do think you've upgraded, with all due respect to Granit Xhaka, even though he's 2 years younger. I think you look at what Modric is doing at the age of 38, and Gundogan is and has been a world-class midfielder. So, but I think what Arsenal need to do is not. See, with Zinchenko and Jesus, we brought them in, and for a lot of the season, they felt like the answer. I think Gundogan's got to come in, but not as like the answer. Like, we signed Gundogan, so suddenly everything's fixed. I think it's you bring him in because he's a bloody good player, and by the way, he walks into our midfield. Let's have that right. And you get his quality as well as his experience and everything. But I think we need to just almost take the pressure off certain players. Like, I think we need another killer in that front line. Whether that's a number 9, and therefore Jesus gets more minutes out wide, and you hopefully keep Nelson, or you sign another winger, but like a high output winger, a 50-60 million pound winger, the winger that gets you excited like Rafinha got us last summer. Whether Rafinha's still the answer, I don't know. And I still think we need depth in defence, because I think Tierney will go, and I think White will probably get more minutes at centre back, and so we need cover at kind of full back and across the defence as well. So I think there's a lot of work to do, and for that reason, and it is an unpopular opinion, I don't know how much I love the idea of getting both Rice and Caicedo, because it's going to be 180, 90 million just to get those two. And I worry that we don't leave ourselves enough to do, the work elsewhere around the pitch. Now, if the Cronkies are saying unlimited budget, whoever you want will get it, I'm great. Yes, I'll have Caicedo, I'll have Rice, I'll have Gundogan on a free, I'll have a striker, I'll have a right winger, I'll get Mark Gehi at the back as well, whoever, cool. But I think realistically, I think there's going to be one who's seriously marquee, and I think that will be Rice. I think the rest will be about trying to be smart by getting quality around the pitch. I know that we don't want to have a summer where we feel like we're, what's the word? Trying to be, what's the word you use, Turkish? Shrewd in the market. We kind of need to have a little bit of a statement window. But I'm yet to be shown that Edu can and the Cronkies can do a statement window.
Agree.
So I'm hesitant. So
and I have, I know we've got to move on, but I have reservations about. They've done great recruiting in the last 2 or 3 years, brilliant recruiting, but I'm still not comfortable about how we acquire these players. I don't think Declan Rice is worth 90 million. I never have done. I just don't think it's worth that money. I think it's worth a lot less than that. However, if he's the guy that Arsenal identified they want, don't mess around. Don't mess around. Let's not drag this out. We know that he's leaving in the summer. We know West Ham are going to let him go. We know West Ham won 120, so they'll take 90. Yeah, give them 90. Let's not long this out. Yeah, let's just get this done. And my fear is we'll do this kind of flirting game again that we've done for the last 4 or 5 years, and then we'll end up with Caicedo, someone else in midfield, and it won't be the guys that we wanted and we were told we needed. Just get it done. I think 90 million is too much. But if you think it's the guy you need to get, don't piss off West Ham. Give them their 90 million. Don't go with 80 million plus El Nene. Give them 90 million. Do you know what I mean? And get it done.
Let's deserve that.
Sorry. I actually like El Nene. But you know my point, though? We tend to do this thing where we know the valuation and we take the piss. And then we miss out on the player for taking the piss. So can I also just use 30 seconds just to kind of big up Man City? Because I think we've battered Arsenal and how we've collapsed. But I think the context around it, I'm not doing the whole, we lost because they were great. I think the two can be true. We were awful. They've been brilliant. Since they lost to Spurs in March, 6-0 Burnley, 7-0 Leipzig, 1-0 away at Palace, 2-0 Newcastle. Hang on. 2-1 Fulham, 4-1 Arsenal, 3-0 Sheffield United, 1-1 Bayern, 3-1 Leicester, 3-0 Bayern, 4-1 Southampton, 4-1 Liverpool. Hang on. 1-0 Chelsea, 4-0 Real Madrid. Oh, no, so wrong way around. Sorry. 2-1 Leeds, 3-0 West Ham, 2-1 Leeds, 1-1 Madrid, 3-0 Everton, 4-0 Real Madrid, and 1-0 Chelsea. There's a lot of goals they've scored in the last 15 games on that insane run. So I think whilst it's right to kind of criticise and batter, as Lee did at the top, this Arsenal team for collapsing, because a lot of those results nothing to do with us. And then we also have to acknowledge, with charges around them, I've got to put that in there as well, we have to acknowledge that this City team are doing a madness. They're doing an absolute madness with some big scores. There's a lot of clean sheets in there as well. And people are applauding Man City team for what they did against Real Madrid, because the symbolism of beating a 14-time European Cup winner is symbolic and changing of the guard. I get it. For me, the real statement win that we should be paying attention to was a 3-0 Bayern, because they absolutely battered Bayern Munich, and Bayern were good. I thought Bayern Munich were actually good.
In that game,
they were
good. Right. But Man City still. So I'm not making excuses for Arsenal. Trust me. I'm just putting the context of what they are up against. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so I wanted to kind of give Man City their flowers,
Jordan,
and congratulate them as well.
We all 100% agree, and like I've said, and I said this along full time. There is a time, and there is a time coming where
I know
get their praise for their season.
I know. You're right.
And you're right to say it, especially because we've been quite negative. But they're not hearing that from me today.
Because we do have to move on. I do want to just ask this one question. Maybe we can delve into it after Champions League final as well. But just one name, one answer. Who's the greatest manager of all time, Pep or Sir Alex? Jordan.
If he wins the final, Pep.
Lee?
Different eras, different feel. I think it's a lot easier to manage now than it was a few years ago. They're more physical and whatever. But do you know what? I would have probably said Ferguson. But after having a year of battling it out with Pep, you realise how good they are. Like, I've sort of been watching it from the outside in. Do you know what I mean? Like, now actually seeing it. And he's done it at Barcelona, and but I will say, you can say it with Ferguson as well. He's had the financial backing. He has had the big financial backing, probably more than Ferguson. So it's a tough one.
James,
Pep. But for United fans who, if you watch this podcast, thank you. If you're insulted by that, a preference, like taste comes into that. I just love watching Pep's teams. And I think you do it with style like that. I mean, for me, the Barcelona side from 2009 to 2013 is the best team I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
And controversially, I think Pep's first title win with City, the 17-18 team, where they had Sterling and Sane on the wings, I actually think that's a slightly better team than this one, the Centurions. I think they're better. But this one's probably more complete, probably a bit more resolute and experienced, and I don't know, maybe more
rounded.
Yeah, a bit more efficient as well. But that team was just unbelievable to watch as well.
Sorry, Turkish, you started us off now. Sorry, we've got to end. But the reason why I said if he wins the final, because I think Pep will be only one of 3 managers to win the European Cup 3 times, and to do it, at 2 separate clubs. I respect longevity. Don't disrespect longevity. 13 titles over 25 years, whatever it was, is to be respected. And being a winner for that long is a trophy in itself. The reason why I give Pep the edge is because not only has he got many trophies, he's changed football. That for me is equal to a trophy. When you can change football and how football is played, that for me is on your legacy, that's equal to another trophy, in my opinion. So for that, Fergie didn't change football. Fergie did many amazing things. But Pep has changed football, in my opinion. So that's why I say if he wins it with City, albeit with masses of money and with charges hanging over them, for me, that will then make him, for me,
This is
the greatest.
This is such an irrelevant point. I'm going to make it really quickly. You know what you just said about Pep changing football? Carragher and Neville were having that debate on Twitter back and forth. And Gary Neville said, what do you mean Fergie didn't change football? He changed he was the one that set the trend for having 4 strikers and alternating and rotating teams week in, week out. And then someone quote tweeted it with a picture of Jurgen Klopp running down the touchline celebrating. The caption was something like, other teams in Europe when they realized they could use their subs. I just thought it's so true. But anyway, Twitter can be great. You've been awful to me sometimes, Twitter, but it can be great.
Cool. It's still Sir Alex for me. I think there's a bit of what's the word, nostalgia involved there, because
recency bias. Is that what you're thinking?
No, I just think when I looked at some of the teams that Sir Alex was winning stuff with, it
was a mad team.
Even when I look back at it now, I think, how the fuck did you do that? Whereas with Pep, it's like, I agree with that. I agree with James. That Barcelona team is the best ever team I've seen, but you get why they're the best. Sometimes United would win things and I wouldn't get it. I'm just like, fuck.
John O'Shea pulling the strings in midfield with Fabio and Raphael on the wings.
And one of them goes wing back or full back, and he was just doing crazy things. And Pep gets a lot of praise for how ruthless he is with players. Sir Alex was probably as ruthless, if not more ruthless. If you crossed him, you was out, from Beckham to Stam. Quality players for United. But as soon as Sir Alex wasn't impressed anymore, he was out the door. But Jordan is right. After the Champions League final, I might have to review. But Sir Alex and Arsene Wenger, those times was the good time. So it's hard to let that go. Even though he's the United manager, he was part of that whole the big battle of the Premier League. But let's move. Wolves. Do we want to see a changed lineup?
Predictions? No, just I don't
give a shit.
Sorry, I don't like. But I know it's countering everything I've just said about caring about the way we end the season. Yes, I want us to win. Yes, I want us to go out and put. And they have to put on something for the fans for the final day, end on 84 points and all that. But they've totally killed my enthusiasm with the last 2.
I'm with you, James. With you on that.
Sorry. They've killed it for me.
It's a contradiction. If they don't win the game, it matters. If they do win the game, it doesn't matter. That's harsh.
that is actually, they're in a bit of a lose-lose kind of. It's like a just do your job so we can clap you off the pitch and say thanks for the memories and all that, because I love this team, but like I'm mad at them. It's like when you your loved one and they do something wrong and you love them but you're pissed off with them. I don't have a kid, so I don't know what it's like when your kid pisses you off, and who's got. Then
you get to make-up sex. That's the best bit of when you're angry at your partner.
Oh, great! Well, that's the Wolves' performance then.
It's in the bag.
Easily, please.
Let's do before we do predictions, I don't know who's gonna do the honor. roll out the red carpet,
Oh shit! Oh,
do all of
yeah.
that nice stuff. Who's got the party poppers or who's got the confetti?
Bank details and all that.
Oh,
on
is
screen,
it?
yeah.
Oh, you won it! Wow,
Over
of course.
with a game in hand.
Like, you've done a City.
Congratulations, well done.
Yeah, well
Highly
done,
delighted for you.
Could have happened to a nicer person.
Yeah. And I won't be going to your parade. I'll tell you what.
I'm gonna piss on his parade.
I might
That's what I'm
piss
gonna
on it,
do.
Watch when I get my 2 stars in that bottom right corner of my screen. Next season, you're going to see 2 gold stars there.
Oh
As
no!
long as you put one up by the side of mine, Turkish, I don't mind that. You know?
Yeah, I'll have to do that. I'll have to do that.
Can
As
I
you
just
can
say,
see, people-
it's a disgrace. Sorry, it's a disgrace that having the season that I've just had, I finished second above Lee and James. That is so bad on you two guys. I was bottom clear for like 3/4 of the season,
Oh no!
and I've just what's going on?
Been
Lee-
let down.
Lee-
We've
Lee
been
bottled
let
it,
down
to be
by
honest.
You
things.
bottled it. You bottled it. They bottled
Yeah.
it.
Well, James never had it to bottle it, but Lee had it and he bottled it.
Yeah, I was top. I was top for a little
James
while.
never had it to bottle it.
I was top for a
You
little while.
can't
Only a
bottle
great
it if
defence
you
for
never
him.
had it. Genius.
It's out of me and James who gets the wooden spoon and pays the extra tenner. So it's just-
Oh yeah, you gotta give him my wooden spoon as well, Lee. Don't forget that nice red one he said for the winner.
yeah. I've got a red spoon and I've got a brown one for James.
Thank you very much.
Well, Lee, who's to say that I'm not petty enough to just copy your score so we end on the same amount of points? Because I know even if I come last, I know that will wind you up. Just knowing that you ended on the
You know
same
what?
points as
Do
me.
you know what, James? You're a little shit and you won't do that. I know that. Like, yeah, I mean, you will try and beat me, whatever happens. I know that. Like, probably like,
Do
the
I
way things have
need-
gone this season, it'll probably happen. Like, yeah, I mean, so.
Basically, do I just pay the tenner so I can end on the same points as Lee?
Yeah, well, that's something you got.
Is it worth it? Is your pain worth a tenner?
Of course,
I think it might be.
it might be.
Let's find out.
For the audio listeners, 48 games played and 48 predictions made. I am top and will finish top on 40 points. Jordan's in second on 36 points. Lee's in third on 33 points, only ahead of James, who's fourth on 33 points by correct scores. So the title is wrapped up. Who's going to pay the tenner extra and get the wooden spoon? We'll find out next week, but it's time to do predictions. I'm going with 4-1 Arsenal.
A statement win.
Yeah, that's how they'll end it. Go
For the,
smash goals.
for the first time this season, I don't really give a damn. I don't care. I'll go 3-1.
Acting like you was in this title race the whole way. You've only been playing it recently.
Turkish. Is there a way in which how many correct scores has Jordan got compared to me and Lee? Because I wonder if there's a way.
look at James trying to reel
Is there a
me in.
way in which a little cheeky 3-pointer and we leapfrog?
James wants a
You,
three-way.
you
That's what he
can't, but
wants.
Lee can.
He wants a
Oh,
three-way.
see, I mean, that would be funny as well.
Yeah, not for
So,
me.
You
All right,
can't,
so if I
you
get
can't.
the predicted score, can I jump above him then? Like, yeah.
To be honest, you're both
Lee's
you'll
woken
finish on
up
the same
now.
correct score, so yeah, you'll be together. Equal.
Yeah, we'll be together again. Right. Okay.
No,
what did you go
no,
for?
thank you.
I went
3-1.
4-1.
3-1.
Oh,
I'm
you
going to go
went
for a boring 2-0 then.
A boring 2-0. James.
what did you say, Jordan?
3-1.
Uh,
You gotta go for a draw then.
3-0. We'll send everyone off into the summer.
But hang on, you won't catch me if that's right, will it? You gotta go for a
I
draw.
can't catch you anyway.
Okay.
I need to catch Lee here. So basically, I'll put myself in a position where Arsenal could go 2-0 up, and Lee's got his result, and I'm just praying for a third goal.
And I'm praying for a Wolves goal.
Oh yeah.
This is getting interesting.
Come on, Costa. I'll have a couple.
Watch us go 1-0 down.
If we go 1-0 down, we're over, aren't we? We're over it.
It
If
wouldn't
they
surprise
score,
me.
it's over, James. Do you know what? If they score, it'll be bang. I've watched them the last couple of games. They haven't looked like scoring.
Yeah.
Well,
They're on the
Dr.
bench.
Arsenal.
They've
are
done
in
well,
town.
Wolves. They've done well to get. Don't forget when the World Cup when it broke up for the World Cup, they were bottom of the league. They've done. I think that they deserve a little bit of praise for that. They got out of it comfortably.
Were they bottom?
Were they bottom?
Yeah.
That's quite an amazing turnaround. Fair play to them.
So they've done well there.
Fair play to them. That is a turnaround.
And so they're quite right to be like on the beach, I suppose, from that point of view. So and they've not really looked like doing anything in the last couple of games. So we'll see. We shall see. They play well on. They play Everton. They played quite well, a few chances. But I thought I watched them at Man United. They never looked like scoring. We're better than Man United, aren't we, guys?
I don't know, mate.
I don't know yet. So we shall see. But we're back to defence, James.
Yeah. Just.
All right. Let's wrap it up. Comments of the day. All the predictions are in. So who wants to go? Actually, let me go first. My one's short but sweet. My one's from Qasim. He says, with Xhaka leaving, who's the player Jordan won't name next season?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah, good question.
Who's pissed me off this year? I'll have to give that some thought. Let me think of someone about that one. But yeah, there will be somebody.
He said, let me think about that.
There will be. I'm targeting someone. Can I go next? I got Bob Carter here. He says, Lee, my wife knows nothing about football. Heard you on the Forest debrief with Robbie and said, it's scary that I know that voice. He's the guy who's in the bottom right who wears the hat. She then looked at the footage and said, why does he wear a hat indoors and not outdoors? Very strange. I had no answer, just cracked up. Says a lot about the format of Forever Arsenal and the notoriety you are all getting. Keep it up. That's from Bob Carter.
That's a great comment. There's a bit of a story there.
So I like that one. But sometimes I keep you, especially because when you get up first thing, these early mornings, the eating ain't quite kicked in, and that's why the hat comes on, and I don't want to mess up my hair, so I just put it on,
Well, Bob, now you know.
Now you know.
Or Bob's wife. Now you know.
Bob's wife, yeah.
Wife, even better.
She was.
Outrageous.
Who's up next?
Lee, just go, Lee.
Just go for it. If Lee loses and comes bottom, he should be a guest on the Tactical Insight shows. The scenes if that happens.
That was one of mine as well.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, that's fine. If you come bottom of this table, we're getting you on Tactical Insight.
Yeah, you know what I mean? No worries. I'll bring my sleeping bag.
Jesus Christ. Oh.
And my pajamas.
Right. Let's end this podcast.
Night nurse.
Perry says, can we please get Jordan to finally say Xhaka's name as a nut? I can't read. Start again.
The answer is no.
Can we please get Jordan to finally say Xhaka's name as a nice gesture before the last podcast of the season?
No.
No.
Fair enough. No. And Shaf, and I don't know how many people got it. Shaf said, once again, absolutely memorized by Lee's performance.
Yeah, I see that. Very good.
I missed that one.
Very good.
Absolutely.
He spent the whole fan cam talking about how he was memorized rather than mesmerized.
No, yeah.
Oh, mate. On that note, people, we're going to call it a wrap.
I'm mesmerised. Poorly. You make one mistake and they're on you like a good nut.
The best you made it 10 times. Like 6 times. Yeah, he's just, I'm memorised. I'm absolutely memorised for that performance. Blown me away, that.
Classic.
Oh, man.
Let's wrap it up because I know Lee's going to go live as well. So, and I know Jordan's got something to do.
He's missed his flight, Jordan. Don't worry about that.
I probably have.
Oh, there we go.
Got the passport, though. Got the passport. There you go.
Ready to fly out. Lee's ready to go live. James, ready to
get busy.
My daughter, as she goes away tomorrow, and I took her around to her auntie's to drop her off. And I said to her, if you got your passport, she said, I'm not as thick as you. I'm only there to help,
I'm not as thick as you. Wow. That's funny enough what Graham says to you. Why you're not invited in Tactical Insight?
Listen, hit the like button, people. Let's get it up to 1,000 likes as always. Hope you've enjoyed the show as much as we haven't enjoyed Arsenal's end of season form and the latest performance against Forest. We will be back next week after the Wolves game, after 38 games have been played. And yeah, I think we'll do some player ratings for the season. I think that's what's next in line. So look out for it next week. Make sure you subscribe, notification bell on, hit the like button, and love for the love.